got called into the January camp, and as a left back, so I was nervous. I was so nervous because I never played left back before,
Mm-hmm.
and so I went into it just not a lot of expectations, but had a blast. My roommate was Gio Reyna.
Hello, and welcome to the Kick It with Katie podcast. I am your host, Katie Colliker, and welcome to episode 8. Today's episode is going to feature my interview with Zack Farnsworth, who is currently playing with Real Salt Lake, which is an MLS team here in the United States. It's based out of Utah, so that is his current club team, and he shares his story of growing up playing soccer and where that journey took him. Can't wait for you guys to hear it in a few minutes. But I want to give a shout out to Rochelle Sterling. She was the winner of the Instagram drawing that I did. So congrats to her, and also happy birthday. It happened to be her birthday around this time. So happy birthday to you, and congratulations on winning that gift card. Please make sure, if you haven't already, go over and follow me on Instagram, and make sure you like and subscribe to this wherever you're listening to your podcast so that you get notifications of when new episodes are going to drop. But the Instagram you can follow me at is Kick It with Katie Podcast, and there's underscores between all the words, and that information is in the show notes. If you have any questions for any future guests, or if you would like to be a guest or know somebody that would be a great guest, shoot me an email, kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com. That is also in the show notes. I'm looking for former youth soccer players, current youth soccer players, parents of current or former youth soccer players, and any coaches out there that want to be interviewed as well. Want to get some different perspectives of people during their journeys so that parents and players and other coaches can have different perspectives from those different people. Please make sure to give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to your podcast. If they let you rate the podcast and give a review, those really help out the show and make the show more successful. And I'm really excited where the show is going. Doing those reviews just really help out the show. So thank you for those that have done it. Next week's episode is going to feature my interview with Trenton Atkin, and he is currently an assistant coach at Salt Lake Community College, and he is going to be talking about his youth soccer career as well as his ADD and ADHD, so I'm really excited about that. But today's episode again is with Zachary Farnsworth of Real Salt Lake, and here's his interview, and please enjoy.
My name's Zachary Farnsworth. I'm currently a professional soccer player for Real Salt Lake, the MLS team here in Utah. And I'm here with Katie Colliger, one of my club coaches, one of my old club coaches' wives now.
Mm-hmm.
And I played for him for about 2 years, I think, a year and a half maybe, something like that. But yeah, so growing up, my first memory of playing soccer wasn't until I lived in Florida. But I was born in Denver, and then I moved to Florida when I was about 3.5, almost 4, and was there for 11 years. And that was kind of what I think shaped my love for soccer and the passion that I found within the sport. That's where it grew. Living in Florida, it's so hot all year round, so I was able to play as much as possible. It wasn't a sport that my mom or dad or anyone in my family had ever really pursued before. My mom, she was a swimmer, she danced. My dad was a basketball and baseball player. No soccer at all, but my older brother played it, and I feel like it's also a thing that kind of all kids, like all parents will be like, oh, go try to play soccer, like, to their kids, like at least once in their life, I feel like. And so that was kind of the case. And so yeah, so when we moved to Florida, we joined the team, and I kind of just took off. Like, I loved it. Like, that's all I wanted to do. And even before I started playing soccer, my first word was ball, and I think I've talked to my parents, and you can ask them, but that's all I wanted to do. Like any toy, no, as long as it was a ball, I'm chilling. But like that was the only toy I ever wanted to play with. So my parents kind of knew I'd be into sports, and it's kind of obvious. Like
Mm-hmm.
good for them for knowing, but it's pretty obvious. But yeah, so in Florida, I lived in Jacksonville, Florida, a little town called Fleming Island, and I played for Clay County Soccer Club. That was our club there. I grew up just playing like whatever rec for a while, and then once my parents kind of figured out like I wanted to take it more serious, and people from the club were like kind of noticing, they got me on some like competitive team. And at the time it was kind of funny because that was a team that my brother wanted to try out for as well, and we ended up like joining together. And then like after like a little bit, I went to another team that was like above it. And now I know that was hard for my brother at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I was so unaware of it. I was like, oh cool, like I'm playing with a new team, whatever. Like I didn't think twice of it, but I know that was tough for my brother. But he eventually understood, and he ended up writing his college thesis paper on like how it was growing up with me, and like with soccer and everything. So I always thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I looked up to him so much growing up, so I just think that's such a interesting correlation between that. Grew up just playing club, and then there was also 3v3 that was really big in Florida. It was just like these like tournaments they have mostly during like the summer months,
Mm-hmm.
but kind of all year round. But it was basically like little tournaments, and you get a team together, play 3v3, small sided, and that was like that was the most fun I had playing soccer, and I had it when I was a kid. Like there was probably six of us on the team, and it was one of my dad. My dad was the coach, and one of my other friends' dad was the coach. And my dad, I mean, he knew nothing about soccer. He was just
Mm-hmm.
there like to get on us. We were in
Mm-hmm.
insane shape. He knew how to run us. He knew how to get us into shape. So we would just run circles around teams.
Mm-hmm.
We had a blast though doing that. That was kind of my most fun memories growing up, playing soccer. And then we got to the age 10, 10, 11 is when I moved to Utah. And when we were making that move, like I could care less where we were going, but I was like, well, is there soccer there? And
Mm-hmm.
they were like, my parents were like, yeah, we'll find soccer. And I was like, cool, like, let's go then. So I had no problem with that. Moved to Utah, joined a team called Firebirds FC. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that was fun. I mean, it definitely wasn't the team I was meant to be on by any means, because we didn't know anything about Utah soccer, so we kind of just joined the local team, and we ended up moving our way up. Once ODP started, that was a blast. I got into that, so state team, region team, eventually the like the national ODP team. That it's like when all the regions play together, they pick like an all-star group out of that, and they go on like a trip. And we went to Argentina one year and had a blast. That was a really cool experience. That was my first experience playing internationally, and that was a ton of fun. Very eye-opening too, and just getting asked to be on teams like that just kept me motivated, and was like, okay, like this is serious. Like I loved it, and like I've known that's just all I've wanted to do since I was a little kid, is to play professional soccer, and make a career out of it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's all I've ever wanted to do. So yeah, so like these little steps, like in my head, like they were little goals of mine, and I kept hitting them, and having tons of fun too, meeting my best friends during these little trips and stuff like that. So that was always fun growing up. And then joined. I don't even know what year I was when I played with Sparta, but it was my seventh and eighth grade year in school was when I is
Mm-hmm.
when I joined Sparta. It was right before high school, and had a blast with that. We played in the National League and club. We went to nationals, had a blast. Learned a lot. That was a great environment to play in. But once RSL Academy, once that came around, I wanted to go there as quick as I could. I knew that'd be the best place for me. Originally, their academy, they were in Casa Grande, Arizona, and it's kind of middle of nowhere, little
Mm-hmm.
town. And just because I love playing soccer so much and could care less about anything else, like I couldn't wait to go. Like I couldn't wait to do a tryout or get recruited. I didn't know how it worked at the time, but I was like, can't wait to go there. Like that's where I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, they ended up moving the academy up to Utah, and they built like a whole facility out here. And that was the fall of freshman year of high school for me, so it was perfect time to jump in there. So I got recruited. I'm not sure really how that works, what they do for that, but I mean, I kind of get it. Like they had a few coaches. They go to local tournaments. They go to the ODP events, and they kind of watch players and then keep an eye on them. Get in touch with like the ODP state staff and ask about you. I'm sure. And at the time, it was Eric Landon, another good guy from Utah soccer, and so yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
the head coach of, well, the director of the academy at the time, his name is Martin Vasquez. He called me. He called my dad on the phone one day and was telling me I had an invite to come be on the team. And this was summer before freshman year. And my dad's like, "Great, like you got to call Zach though and tell him." And so like
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes later, he calls me, and in between that time, my dad sends me a text like, "Hey, answer your phone. It's important." I'm like, "What? Okay." Like 10 minutes go by, I get a phone call. Shows up Martin Vasquez. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is important."
Mm-hmm.
So talked to him. That was great. Get started. Freshman year, we're playing U16, U17 level, and ton of quality guys on that roster. A ton of good guys actually. Bryce Duke was on that team. He's a now pro. He plays for Inter Miami. He plays for LAFC, but a lot of good guys on that team though, and that was very very fun. The academy was tough. It was a grind day in day out. We trained from every morning like 7 to 9 in the morning, and then we go to school. Start at 10. Go to school from 10 to 3, and then we get out of school and we train anywhere between 4 and 6, 5 and 7. I eat dinner, do some homework, mess around, and then go to bed. Like that was a life, and that's what we did. And at our academy, it's a boarding school kind of situation. So all the kids would live at a dorm on campus. We'd go to school together. We'd obviously play soccer together, but that was really neat. Everything's right there. RSO does an amazing job with the academy and and everything from top to bottom. Don't have any bad things to say about that. It was like halfway into that fall season. I was starting to get some playing time on that team. We are part of the younger age group of that squad. A lot of them were 2001s, and those were kind of the starters. And eventually, kind of broke in. Was having a great time playing. And then my best friend now, his name's Tommy Silva. He was our left back and great player. He ended up getting sick right before one of our showcases down in Florida in December, and so he plays left back, and I played left wing at the time. And so our
Mm-hmm.
coach was like, "Hey, you're gonna play left back for this next game." I'm like, "Shoot, I don't know how to defend. Are you sure?"
Yeah.
And that was my initial reaction. Was like, "Hey, let's go. Like, I'll do it. Yes, of course." Felt bad for Tommy. Obviously, he's my best friend, and he wasn't able to play the first few games
Mm-hmm.
because he was so sick. But I'm pretty sure he still came on the trip and still ended up playing. But it was from that game we played Atlanta United, and I thought I played pretty good. Nothing like crazy though. But it was from that game that after that tournament, playing left back for the first time, the national team coach called Martin and was like, "Hey, we're looking at Zach. We're gonna call him in, but we're gonna call him in as a left back, not a wing, not a 10, like I had previously played."
Mm-hmm.
No, and so Martin calls me in and he's like, "Hey, you're going to camp." I'm like, "Shoot, you're serious?" And I was like, "That's my dream. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what every young kid wants to do is play for their national team." And so a national camp is kind of the you get called in the national camps. They're a couple weeks out of the years. They have different friendlies, different things for different camps. But got called into the January camp, and as a left back, so I was nervous. I was so nervous because I never played left back before,
Mm-hmm.
and so I went into it just not a lot of expectations, but had a blast. My roommate was Gio Reyna, great guy. I'm
Oh,
sure you've heard of him now.
yeah, just heard a
Um,
little bit about him.
yeah, but it was very cool. We were down in Florida, so that was a great week and a half of soccer. Learned a lot, met a lot of good kids, a lot of cool people. That really got me motivated for that next spring and that those next years coming. Haven't been Didn't get called in again that whole cycle. That was my first and only call up. Disappointing, but it kept me motivated. And
Mm-hmm.
it was, I went through a couple injuries too during these
Mm-hmm.
academy years. The next year, so my sophomore year in high school, it was in the spring. I had hurt my hip real bad, torn labrum, and ended up having to get surgery. And it was it was like a couple weeks after I'd gotten hurt and before I had the surgery that the national team coach was asking about me again, and my coach called me and said, "Hey, how are you doing?" Because it was the beginning of summer break, and I'm like, "I'm good, but I'm hurting, like I can't play." And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "Okay," he's like, "You better get healthy fast." I was talking to the national coach about you, and he's obviously interested, so just like grind this injury out, get better, and just know that you're a top player and they want you, like they're thinking about you. And
Mm-hmm.
sick, say less. Like I grinded that injury out. I was so motivated, and I think that was 2018, 2019 area. But
Mm-hmm.
the after that, I got healthy. I was fine. I was playing, and then yeah, that was in 2019. So that was 2019, and the winter of 2019. I basically went to the gym so much. I gained like 10, 10 pounds. Like I didn't get like fatter though by any means. Like it was just a lot of muscle. Like I was training
Mm-hmm.
my butt off. I was working so hard. I was like, I wanted to make a jump, and it was evident I did. I was kind of ready for preseason, hopping in, and it was it was that spring season. I was killing it. I was playing really good. I was happy with how I was playing. I felt strong, and then COVID hit,
Mm-hmm.
and oh, okay. So I don't remember the exact day that like we were sent home from the academy amongst the virus like breaking out, but it was like 3 days before we got sent home. I got an email from the national team coach and the national team, and like, hey, you've been invited to the U19 national camp in Spain. You're gonna be playing
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 friendlies. Obviously, the club already knew, so I go talk to our coach. I'm like, whoa, like let's go,
Mm-hmm.
like we're back. And then 3 days later, COVID hits. 1 or 2 days later, get an email, trip's been canceled. They'll follow
Mm-hmm.
up with further details, but that was rough. I was defeated, but I was also super motivated. I was like, okay, like I'm back in business, like that's where I want to be. And so that year was pretty interesting. That next year because
Mm-hmm.
of COVID, but I ended up playing with the Real Monarchs, which is our basically like our farm team, our second team here at Real Salt Lake. It's professional, but it was in the USL at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
so made my debut with them. Played with them throughout that COVID year, which was I want to say 15 games. It was a shorter season because of COVID. Had a pretty long break. Worked my butt off again. Felt really good going in the first team preseason because that was like kind of my goal. And I wasn't training or playing with the academy at the time, just playing pickup and stuff. And then first team preseason, got invited to that. I was stoked. We start here in Utah. I'm playing good. I didn't have any expectations to it. Like I hadn't played a lot of soccer during that break. It was just a lot of working out, a
Mm-hmm.
decent amount of pickup, but that's obviously different than being in a team environment. And
Mm-hmm.
then preseason, I'm killing it. I'm playing really good, learning a ton, soaking up a lot of information. Freddie Juarez was our head coach. Our our now head coach Pablo Mastroni, he had come on as an assistant. He was kind of working a lot with our defensive players, and I was learning a ton from him. He was helping me out. This is me at left center back and having a ton of fun. And I ended up spraining my ankle just a little bit about a month and a half into our preseason, right before our trip to Tucson, Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
and about 2 weeks before we leave for Tucson, I was like, okay, like it's just a little sprain. Like we went through all the rehab process for it. It felt a lot better by the time halfway through our Tucson preseason trip. I was feeling better. I started full team training, and just a couple of days later, we had a scrimmage against Phoenix Rising, and I played about 3 minutes, and then went down with an ankle injury. I went to cut, turned around, and the deltoid ligament in my ankle completely snapped. It ruptured, and
Ow.
so that was kind of it. That was like very defeating.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not like a signed player at this point, and so technically I'm just like a trialist from
Mm-hmm.
the academy, and so I get surgery like about 2 weeks after we get back for it to a complete ankle repair for that ligament. They go and put synthetic material in that ligament as a repair. They put a few sutures in, a few little like some of those like dissolving screws that they put in.
Mm-hmm.
But get the surgery done, and I graduate high school. That was kind of
Mm-hmm.
fun. Walking the stage in boot and crutches.
Mm-hmm.
And then during this time, we're kind of going through contract talks with RSL. At this time, like I'm talking to an agent. I haven't signed anything with him, but talking to him, he's helping me out during the process. And I was like, once I got hurt, I was like, shoot, that's it. Like I'm gonna be going to college, which at the time I was super stoked about, but I also wasn't sure that I was gonna go because of the pro opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that was there, but I didn't know like to what extent it was there really. And so I committed to Clemson University, and with Coach Noonan, I had gone on a visit and everything. One of the most like wholesome, genuine guys I've ever met. I think Coach Noonan, and I really wanted to play for him. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I committed to Clemson. ACC soccer is awesome for college. Like I think for college, it's as good as it gets. Depends obviously on what team you're on and where in the country, but overall, I think ACC is a decent place to land in college soccer.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good players have come out, but I was super stoked to commit to Clemson. They were coming off a really good year. They were top 10 every few years, and it was a school I was stoked about. And the whole recruiting process was pretty stressful because part of it was during COVID. I only got to go on 2 visits. I went to Indiana University and then Clemson, and Indiana was awesome too. Love that school, love the coaches, love the kids. Great group of guys, but I just think personally Clemson would have worked better for me, and that's why I ended up committing there. But
Mm-hmm.
fast forward back to that spring, as I got hurt, we were going through contract talks. Like I'm kind of thinking I want to sign, but I wasn't super sure after I got hurt. I was kind of thinking like, okay, maybe that's it. Like I'm just gonna go to college, rehab this injury, and then get back to where I'm going. Because the end goal is obviously to sign pro. Like that's obviously what I want. And so RSL, they kept their offer strong. They kept going despite me getting injured. They still had faith in me. They still had faith that I'd be back healthy, fully, 100%. And the rehab process is supposed to be 6 months at this point. I was thinking I was going to be healthy, back playing again in like October-ish. So we kept negotiating with RSL. And it meant a lot too that they kept pursuing me even after I got hurt. And that was kind of like, okay, like I think this is what I'm leaning towards. And so
Mm-hmm.
my Clemson coach, Coach Noonan, he kind of knew of the possibility the whole time, even after I committed. And when I committed, I told him to.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a pretty tough phone call with him. I didn't want to do it because I knew it was going to be tough for me to tell him that I'm not going to school anymore. But he was so cool about it. He wished me the best of luck, and he was like, "Well, after your first game, you better send me a jersey. Like, I wanna hang it in my house."
Mm-hmm.
And that just meant a lot to me. He's like, "I don't want it at the facility." He never went there. He was like, "But I want it at my house." Like, so I thought that was really cool. It speaks a lot to about the genuine aspect of him. Such a great guy. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I ended up signing pro. That while I was hurt, it was like sometime in June, and 4-year deal, and I was stoked. Still am stoked. 2 years into that deal right now, two more left. Part of like the rookie deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been hurt. That ankle injury did not last for just 6 months like we thought it did.
Mm-hmm.
Something went on during the rehab process or surgery. I really don't know. But kept me out for a long time. I ended up having to get surgery again for it in the following January. So about 10 months after that initial surgery, get that surgery, get it all cleaned up through there. After that, it took about another 5-6 months until I was healthy again, and I started playing in very late July. Was like my first game back. Started with Monarchs, training back and forth between first team Monarchs, mostly Monarchs, getting games in with them, working my way up to starting a game again, getting my fitness back, getting just all the soccer stuff back, right? Like you're out for such a long time that your body's not going to be used to the load.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, my touch was pretty horrid at first, like still
Mm-hmm.
coming back. It was tough, trying to adapt to having a new ankle basically.
Mm-hmm.
It threw me off for a little bit. Like I got kind of frustrated with it, but I've been learning to play with it and learning basically just like what my new normal is for with my ankle and with my body. And so I ended up staying healthy, playing throughout the end of the year for Monarchs, and it was what day was that? Hmm. I forget the exact date, but the first team had a Leagues Cup game between the Mexican leagues, the Liga MX, and we were playing Atlas, and it was a home game. And I kind of knew in the back of my mind, like, okay, like maybe I get a shot. It wasn't like a game where we're gonna go balls to the wall, play all our top guys, play all our first team players who've already had heavy minutes. It was a middle of the
Mm-hmm.
week game. I think it was on like a
It's like a
Thursday or
Wednesday.
Friday night, and
I
we
think it was a Wednesday, maybe. I think I was
probably.
there, but it was
Yeah,
definitely a
so
weird
it
night.
was. Yeah, and I know we had a packed schedule around that game, and so I kind of thought in the back of my head, looking at the schedule, like, maybe that's a possibility. I don't know. We'll see where I'm at with my recovery and how I'm
Mm-hmm.
playing at that point. And end up getting on the roster. I was stoked. I was like sick. Like let's go. I started on the bench. It was like my first team real game, and it was awesome. It was everything I've dreamed it would be. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't an MLS game per se. The fans and the stadium wasn't packed as it usually was or usually is, but I still had the biggest goosebumps. I was nervous, but I was also ready. I was like, okay, like this is it. Like let's go. So happy. Got in. Like ended up playing like 25-ish minutes probably, and we were down a man, so it was kind of a grind. But
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really good for it being my first game. The nerves were there, but it was kind of a good nerves, and it just kind of made me realize like how ready I am to really jump in. It was tough to have that mindset after going through such a long injury, but after that game, I was like, let's go. Like I was really happy, and
Mm-hmm.
so that was a big kind of turning point for me, that game, and then ended up getting to go to Belgium for like a little training stint after the season, and for 3 weeks with a team called SK Beveren. That was a blast. So yeah, so that was about 3 weeks in October. I got back. We've been in off season. We started back up in beginning of January, and we're just in the middle of preseason full right now. I got a hamstring tweak going on, so I'm kind of dealing with that, trying to get that situated. Hopefully that doesn't keep me out for too long. It shouldn't,
Yeah.
but going through that right now, and yeah, so that's kind of the whole story.
It's been fun watching you progress, and it's really good when you have like the Clemson coach or like Justice. Their jobs are to get players to the position that you're in currently, is to coach you guys so that you guys can get to that professional level. So they know that their job is to get you guys where you're going, and so it's good to be able to see those coaches that are helping players like you get to where you're at, fulfilling your dreams, and that's awesome.
Justice was great. He was a very memorable club coach for me. Helped me a lot.
That's good. So I know with Sparta, at least, and I know you had mentioned going to Argentina and Belgium. So why don't you tell about your experience? Because I was there and I got to see it happen, but just because your Sparta team won the Las Vegas Mayor's Cup, which got you guys that trip to go to the Real Madrid facility and play in Spain. So talk about that
sick.
just a little bit, because I know there were a few of you guys on that Sparta team that actually got recruited into the Real Academy, the RSL Academy, and you guys delayed going in because they were like, no, you should go on this trip. And so you guys ended up going to Spain instead of going to RSL first. Like, so just kind of talk about your take on going to Spain and seeing the facility and kind of how it compares to the RSL facility and things like that. Because I know that there's some similarities between the two. I mean, their facility is ginormous and huge, and it's very impressive.
Yeah, we're blessed in that department. But yeah, Spain was an amazing experience. The spring prior, we played in the Las Vegas Mayor's Cup, and I think it was spring. It might have even been the fall. I don't remember.
It was over President's Day in February.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, we were going in that tournament. We all knew if we won, we're getting a trip to Spain through Generation Adidas, and so that tournament was a ton of fun. Not quite, not really pressure, but more like super. Just everyone was dialed. Like everyone was like, okay, like this is it. Let's go. And ended up having a good group stage. Played good. The final won. We were so stoked. We were like, oh my gosh, we're going to Spain. Sick. And yeah, and then RSO Academy, they wanted a few of our guys to start them, and it's probably like 4 or 5 of us start their like little preseason with them, and that was that freshman year of high school for me, and it was in August, and we had that Spain trip coming up, and we're like, shoot, we can't go to Spain, we have to go to RSL, which is like we have to go to RSL, like obviously
right.
It's a blessing, like,
right.
But they were like, no, go, you only be like half a week late, and then you can just join right back in with us once you're back. I was like, oh, sick, like we're going. So we're there for a week. I think we played probably 3 games, but we played. We got a tour of the Bernabeu Stadium, and we got to watch Real Madrid and Barcelona play in a Super Cup game, and that was unreal. Like, I'd never been to anything like that before. That was a dream come true. I think I was the happiest guy alive that day. And the hotel we stayed at was the Spain national team's headquarters. So when they have when they have domestic camps, when they're staying in Spain, that's where they stay, that's where they train, that's where they eat. And that facility was great. That was super nice. The hotel was awesome. Food was great. They had some fields around, and we didn't get to practice on like the nicest fields there for obvious reasons. It's the Spain national team. Like, okay, that's okay. We're just a club team from the USA. Like,
yeah,
of course, we're playing on like the turf field across the way. That's still nice, still a ton of fun. Very hot that summer there. And then for a couple of days, I think it was a couple of days, we got to stay and train at Real Madrid's facility. Now that was something like wild. Like it was some sort of visiting locker room. Like, we obviously didn't train with the team or nothing, or with their academy team at all. It was more like a developmental thing, but it was still unreal. They gave us a tour of the facility, everything but like the first team only area, which like they got a whole different parking lot for all their players. They pull around. They got two different
Mm-hmm.
fields. Their second team, I believe, plays their games there, so they have like a little mini stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they have like a whole separate side, which is unreal. And so we stayed on like the other side. They have so many so many fields. There's probably 10, 12 fields,
Mm-hmm.
couple turf, couple grass. But we got to train, and I think one of the coaches that trained us was one of like the academy staff. So that was really neat. There was two of them. That was a great experience. Just kind of go through drills that they would run. That was something special, and so we got to do that. And yeah, that whole trip was kind of just like, wow, like this is unreal. It's kind of what everything we wanted, everything we dreamed about. And I was also bummed though too, because one of our players, Fabi, he wasn't allowed to come,
Mm-hmm.
um, for whatever reasons. But I just hated one of our players who played such a role in our team, wasn't able to come. But regardless, like, we were still able to have a great time, and of course we wish he could have came. But yeah, that whole experience was unreal, like incredible. Seeing Barcelona Real Madrid game live, that was nuts. And we were probably like the very top of the
Mm-hmm.
stands, and unreal. No one's on their phone. Like, everybody's standing up the whole game. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, Ronaldo didn't play that game.
I know.
He was resting that game, but did see him. He was on the sideline after they had won, and that was pretty neat. I'm a Madrid fan too, so I was happy they won. So
Yeah, see, and I'm Barca fan, so we were pretty upset that it it was one
yeah,
of our only chances to see Messi play, and they lost.
that's all right. Hopefully it's not the last,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it was very very amazing experience, and we are so grateful that we got to go on that. Yeah, amazing.
I mean, I still remember like their trophy rooms that they had like at Real Madrid, and then the one over at the Spanish, like um
Hmm.
the
They
little
had like
tiny
a
museum
little
or.
museum kind of thing
Mm-hmm.
for the Spain national team. And I was at the hotel we were staying at. That was
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they had I forget what trophy it was. Probably one of the La Liga cups, but where Ramos dropped it off the back of the bus or
Oh,
something.
that's right. It was
Yeah,
a Champions League, or I think
it
was,
might have been Champions League. It might have been Euros or something.
and it's all bent.
But yeah, it was awesome. It was in the case and it's all broken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like we remember seeing that like through social media, like, oh, Ramos dropped the trophy, like, oh, and
Mm-hmm.
then we see it in person. I was like, okay, that's sick.
Mm-hmm.
So funny, so funny. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was unreal. It was unreal. Seeing the Real Madrid locker room in the stadium, that was nuts. Like, just that was very cool.
I mean,
So
and they're huge. And so when we're watching games and we're watching them walk out of there, we're like, we've been there,
mhm.
we've stood there
Yeah,
before. Like,
uh-huh.
it's just fun to be able to say because we're like, I've been there, even though I'm not a Madrid fan. I mean, respect, but Justice always
Yeah,
gives me
I'm
crap
sure it's so cool.
when I wear my, because me and his sister, we both bought Madrid shirts while we were there to wear to the
Uh,
game, and
yeah.
he was like, oh, you can't wear those, and I still have it and would still wear it until I think it got a hole in it or something, and he would give me
Hmm.
crap for wearing it, and I'm like, I don't wear it on Barca days, so don't worry about it, like.
Yeah, don't worry, man. Don't worry. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great trip. Great trip.
Do you have any advice for any youth players out there from your experience? Anything that you've learned yourself?
Yeah, I would say that obviously, like, there's cliches to it, and I'm sure this sounds kind of cliche, but like, you can really never dream too big. I know so many guys who got even not even a full chance, like a half a chance, and took it with the best they could and the best they knew how, and ended up skyrocketing. Ended up they're playing for the national team now, playing Champions League games. Like, Americans are doing these things, and I would just say, yeah, just like you can never really dream too big and never stop chasing that dream. Like, if you want to play for Manchester United one day, never stop thinking about it. Like, do what you can to get there, and obviously it's very far. Like, that'd be an insane achievement, but at the same time, like, that's all I ever want to do. I want to play for the national team, the senior national team. I've dreamt of that since I was little, and probably saw their practice one day in Jacksonville, Florida. They had an open training, and I was like, I want to play for them one day. Like, and it's our country. Like, that's an insane achievement, and so I feel like I'm still dreaming. I'm still wanting to get there, and so I would say that. And then also just enjoy all the little moments, like as your career comes up, and as you keep progressing through your career, whether that's club, high school, college, professional. Enjoy the little moments, and enjoy that team camaraderie, and enjoy being with your team, enjoy going to away games with them, enjoy the little things, because you're not going to get those moments back, whether that's from age 6, 7 to 18, 15, 16. Like, those are awesome moments, and just keep that in mind when you're going through it, because it'll make it seem great. So yeah, I would say that.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that's all I've got for you. So
yeah, well, thanks for having me on, Katie.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It's always fun running into you or seeing Justice or whatever around. So
yeah,
hopefully more of that, and I'll be playing this year, hopefully. So see you at some games, hopefully, and yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and we're rooting for you. So we'll hopefully catch you in some games, and yep, we're always rooting for you and the team, and so good luck and stay healthy. Don't get injured again.
Appreciate it.
Knock on wood.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm working on it. That's the bad luck saw to run out soon, so we're out of that. We're out of that territory soon. So
okay.
Well, thank you, Katie.
Okay.
You have a good one.
You too. See ya. Thank you again to Zachary for coming on and doing this interview with me. Thank you for sharing all of your knowledge and information that you have. And we will definitely be following you and Real Salt Lake as you guys go through your season. So good luck with that. And hopefully you stay injury-free this season. Knock on wood. Thank you guys for listening. And just make sure before you go that you give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to the podcast, because it really just helps out the show. Thank you guys for listening, and thanks for kicking it with me. Have a great day. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at kickitwithkatiePodcast _ between all the words. You can reach out to me with questions at kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com. I also have a feature with SpeakPipe where you can leave me your own voicemail message if you want to be featured on the podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.